It's about time we normalize having financial fears. Because the real problem is when we avoid these fears and we don't confront them, and so we think that they are much of a bigger problem than it really is. So in this video, I'm sharing with you my own financial fears that I had to overcome so that I could pass on those money lessons to you. Let's go. First off, let's talk about why financial fears are normal. My analogy here is kind of like, alam mo nung bata ka, takot ka dun sa closet mo or takot ka buksan yung pintuan na madilim kasi feeling mo may multo dun. Okay? But the problem is, you never even tried opening that door. You never even tried opening the closet thinking na totoo ba talaga? Meron ba talagang multo doon? Meron ba talagang monster doon na kakainin ako? Okay, that's my analogy when it comes to our financial fears, is that we build it up so huge in our heads na, oh my gosh, I'm gonna feel so anxious about this, I'm gonna feel so stressed about this when I look at my expenses, when I decide to finally pursue my career, when I start that business, it's gonna be so scary, it's gonna fail, etc., etc. But we never even try to open the door, to take that first step. So it seems scarier than it really is. So it's kind of like, feeling mo nung bata ka may multo dun sa closet or may multo dun sa pintuan na yon, but you never even tried opening the door and checking, ano nga ba talaga yung nakakatakot dyan? Because when you think of it as a child, ang nakakatakot lang naman talaga dun is that madilim, walang ilaw, so nakakatakot. And so you create things in your head, you imagine like, what are things that could be happening in the dark? But in reality, the fear is just like, oh, it's just dark room or walang ilaw doon, kaya nakakatakot, right? And that's really why we should normalize our financial fears, because when we normalize them, we can have control over them. We can then neutralize them. I remember when I was in my corporate job and I wanted to start my own business, I wanted to be an entrepreneur full-time, the thought of just quitting my job was so freaking scary, diba? Kasi 6 years na ako in the same career path, and so just the thought of quitting it, just the thought of resigning, just the thought of putting myself out there and talking on the internet and posting on TikTok was so freaking scary that like, oh my gosh, if I do it, I might drain out my savings, I might waste all the years and my earning capacity. So I had all of these financial fears and doubts when guess what? I haven't even started. And so it builds up in your mind. And so I had that fear before, and so I get it, na the fear becomes bigger when we keep it in, when we hide it, when we build it up in our minds, when we don't speak up about it, when we don't vocalize it. And the truth is, when you're leveling up with your goals, let's say for me, when I wanted to put my corporate career aside and be a full-time entrepreneur, of course there are gonna be like these fears and these doubts that would come in. I realized that the moment that I just acknowledged within myself that like, you know what if this is part of the process that you grow? What if this is part of the growth process, Nick? Like, Nick, what if all of these things, these fears, these challenges that you're gonna face head on, it's part of the process where you step into the better version of yourself. Kumbaga, face myself in the mirror and tell myself, what am I really scared about? Oh, maybe I'm really scared to humiliate myself. What if I'm really just scared that I'm not good enough? Then we get deeper into what the root problem really is. It's not that you're scared to drain your savings, it's that you're scared to fail. You're scared that you're not gonna be good enough. It's that you're scared that you're gonna be embarrassed doing something and then just failing. When I wanted to feel more assured and validated with starting my own business, I invested in a coaching program that would give me the skill, support, mentorship that would allow me to have the roadmap, the skills to be able to launch my own coaching business. I also made sure I saved up for my emergency fund, my freedom fund, so that I would have enough buffer to enjoy the learning curve of me becoming a full-time entrepreneur. So what happened is, instead of me making the fear bigger, I focused on the solution. Instead of me imagining all the worst things that could happen, I was preparing for the best outcome. I realized that I have grown the most when I became honest with myself, with these fears, and stopped being in denial. All these milestones that involve money, It's normal that you would have these kinds of fears of like, kaya ko ba talaga? Will I be able to cover that? How achievable is that? Will I be able to make it to that timeline and all of that? Like, it's okay to have those as long as you notice them. It only becomes stressful. It only becomes stressful when you do not confront them. We think that being strong is like, oh, I'm not allowed to cry, I'm not allowed to feel worried, I'm not allowed to feel anxious. And so, nangyayari, when we're not allowed to feel anything, kinikimkim natin. Kinikimkim natin. We don't open up to the right people. We don't open up to the people who could really help us. We don't ask for help. That's what happens when we don't acknowledge the financial fears. And then what happens? They become financial stress. When I had my own financial fears and doubts, it was such a huge help when I was able to open up about them to someone and realize like what is not true and what is my reality. Because sometimes we mix them up. When we open up about money and we stop making it such a taboo topic, then we get to realize that we can find solutions. That's a common theme that my clients also tell me when I coach them, is that they realize like, oh, when I just open up, when I just allow myself sometimes to cry, and that happens also during our sessions, when they realize that I just really needed to be honest with myself. I just really needed to allow myself to validate my feelings and what I'm going through. Because when I open up about them, I can easily release them now. I can easily let go now. And I can detach myself from my fears and know that they don't have control over me anymore. Whether you are in a marriage and you want to open up to your husband about money matters, or whether you want to open up to your parents about what you're going through and your money goals, right? That you want to be financially independent, you want to live independently, and you want to be firm about that decision, and you want to tell your parents about it. If you want to set boundaries with your family members and your relatives about giving, so that you could finally prioritize your dreams and not have kind of resentment towards constantly giving to others, right? Because I realized that when I became honest about my own fears and I opened up about them, that's when I've grown the most. That's when I've matured the most. Because we think that, being brave when it comes to funding our dreams, taking that leap, shifting to that career, starting that business, purchasing that property, living independently, we think that when we are financially ready, wala tayong fears. Wala tayong mga possible problema to face. No. It's that you have these fears that come up, but you do it anyway. You do it afraid anyway, because you know that you can overcome them now. So, what is the only way to overcome these financial fears? Simply put, it's when you acknowledge and confront these financial fears. In my experience coaching so many clients now, most of the time what's been holding them back is that they don't want to confront the expenses. They don't want to confront the debts. They don't want to confront their parents about setting boundaries. They don't want to confront their partner and be honest about their money worries. And so what happens? We keep it all inside. And we build up the anxiousness, the worries in our head. And again, kinikimkim natin. But in reality, if we learn to acknowledge and welcome them, okay, is that like, okay, let's identify sino ba yung kalaban? Who is the real enemy? Is it really the monster in the closet? Or is it that madilim lang, kailangan ko lang buksan yung ilaw dun sa closet? Diba? It's most of the time is that we think there is a bigger monster, when in reality, we just need to open the lights. We need to open up the lights and see what is it really we are scared to see. And most of the time, with these financial fears, it's attached to, oh, I feel shame. I feel guilt of what I've spent. Or I feel some sense of not being independent, or I feel like I'm not as responsible with the money that I have, or I feel like I'm not really deserving to use this money to invest in my dreams, or I don't feel like I'm really good enough to prioritize my dreams. I think that it's selfish to prioritize myself. Shouldn't I just give all my money to others? Like, these are the things that come up when I coach my clients. And when they really hit the nail, like, what is the root cause of what's allowing them to spend impulsively? What's really causing them not to open up to their partner about their expenses and hiding their packages and credit card bills? What's really causing them to be so scared about spending their money and constantly hoarding their savings? Once they identify what is the real enemy, and that's usually inward, that usually comes from within. It's not because external, okay, which is usually, yun yung monster na biniblame natin, right? Oh, it's because, kasi alam mo naman, yung relatives, yung pamilya, mahirap kausap kasi pag sinabihan mo ng boundaries, kung ano sasabihin, selfish ka. Or like, yung Shopee kasi, yung Lazada kasi, sale ng sale, kaya, ayun, lagi ako napapabili. Or, my parents never really taught me how to handle money, and so wala, ganito na talaga ako. That's what happens when we don't know what the real enemy is. We blame a monster na wala naman tayong control. When in reality, we just need to turn on the lights. The lights, which is, it's gonna open up what's in here. What is it really limiting us? And most of the time, it's us. Tayo yung pinakamalaking roadblock sa sarili natin. Tayo yung pumipigil sa mga pangarap na gusto natin if we just realize what are those limiting beliefs and financial fears that we are constantly replaying in our heads? Like, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, I'm too selfish. That's the real enemy, and that's something that you can have control over because it comes from within. And so the change also comes from within, and it all starts in your mindset. That's why it's so important to me that I hold a very, very safe space for my clients to open up about their fears, about their doubts that they were so scared to just say out loud. And they realize that when they just said it to someone, during our coaching sessions, they realize that hindi naman pala siya ganun kahirap as they thought. That there is a way to easily let go of them and find solutions around them. And they feel so much lighter just saying it out loud and just acknowledging it. Because now they know that there's a way around it. There has always been a solution to overcome them. And, honestly, one of the best things about being a coach is that I love helping my clients help themselves. Because that's really what the role of a coach is that I help my clients realize that they are capable, that they are resourceful, to overcome these fears that they think is so huge, when in reality, they have the best solutions to overcome them. To serve as your inspiration, I always love sharing wins from my clients inside my one-on-one coaching program. For instance, Hannah, she is a full-time entrepreneur and she feels like she can finally scale her business with confidence and ease while also providing for her family and setting the right boundaries. Another client who recently graduated from my program is Rix, who is also a breadwinner and a working mom who finally has that sense of confidence as well, who is financially ready to fund her dream career while also providing and building her family. I always love asking them, within our 8 weeks of working together, it's like, oh, so what changed? What changed? What made the difference for you to finally step into feeling like a business owner? What finally allowed you to see the positive in maximizing your corporate job, your current income stream? And they always say that it's really the powerful shift in my mindset. It's that when they were able to acknowledge the things that were holding them back, the beliefs that shouldn't be normalized anymore, that they can have new beliefs around money that can now serve them, that can allow them to step into the better version of themselves to achieve the goals that they want. We get to decide that the cycle of financial pressure, the cycle of the wrong spending habits ends with us. As usual, if you want to learn more about how I can also coach you inside my one-on-one coaching program, you can check the link in my bio and learn about all the details and the modules that I coach my clients on, which is really about mastering the right spending and saving habits by mastering their mindset around money so that they could have trust and confidence in themselves to fund their dreams into reality.